Hello, good evening. Welcome to another live stream. Yeah, again, I missed a Sunday night. That's tending to happen quite often, so I'm trying to squeeze in these Monday evenings instead. It will have to be a slightly shorter one this week because I've got an early start in the morning. So I'm going to try and get maybe an hour or so done specifically around some dialogue that I've been writing and getting that into Adventure Creator's dialogue setup. So that I can try and get a conversation going with one of the other main story beats with the character. Good evening, Kyle. Thank you for joining. As always, top fan on YouTube. Good to see you again. The point of this bit, I suppose, is that I've not been through doing any dialogue yet on any of these live streams, but it's kind of a big part of the game. Big part of any point and click game is dialogue between two characters. I have set some up already that wasn't on the live stream, which I'll go into, and I'll briefly show that at the start, I think, and then I'll just try and dive into this other new one that I'm going to be setting up. So I will jump into my, there we go, other view. This is going to be happening on the shop floor scene, and I kind of made a decision the other day. I think I've made the decision to make a duplicate of the shop floor scene for Act 2. I've just renamed it Act 2 here at the moment, and strip out a load of the stuff that was going on in Act 1, because there was basically loads of stuff in the start scene. I'll show it here actually quickly just so you get an idea of why I've made this decision. So first of all, there was all the puzzles with the lights, there was the Hoover, there's a bit I didn't do on the live stream. I've set up this conversation with Justin, the delivery driver. There's this other customer which actually doesn't turn up till Act 2, so there's no need for her to be in this scene. So I haven't yet put all the other hotspots around, but I have thought that when it comes to Act 2, it would be good to not have to be doing all the checks at the start. There is a huge set of checks about the initial cutscene at the start of the game, whether the Hoover's visible, whether Justin's visible, whether Wendy's visible, and all of this stuff needs to happen all the time. It's just going to get more and more bogged down as we go through the different acts. So I think what I'm going to do is, as I just did literally 5 minutes ago, just duplicate that scene, took out some of the stuff I don't need, some of the hotspots, some of the bits and pieces that are there, and yeah, basically not worry about all those extra bits. So I'm just going to turn that to visibility on at the start. So basically this scene isn't going to be doing all the cutscene checks and things. We'll kind of be starting from here, all the lights on, no Hoover, no visible things to fix and what have you. Wendy's hidden because that'll be happening later, and then I just haven't got any of the stuff that is making it kind of messy. So I'm going to start from there. I might regret it. What I need to do, unfortunately, first is something that I've done loads on live streams, and I'm just annoyed I didn't get a chance to set it up before this, which is just to bring in another NPC. So depending on which live streams you've watched in the past, you might have seen this guy with a fish tank being drawn, some idle animation of him kind of looking shifty, talking animations. It's this guy I'm going to start a conversation with, but I haven't brought his sprites in yet. I've just exported him like literally 2 minutes ago. I need to bring him into here, so I'll do that quickly because I've been through this quite a few times now. He should be in customer. Fish tank guy, do my usual pixel art. I starred these and got rid of the names, so I'm hoping this sprite sheet sliced when I apply that, hopefully that is going to do that correctly and just give him names. I also tried a new export method in Sprite that I didn't know existed. It was a little checkbox I'd never even spotted before, but when you export a sprite sheet, there's this split tags And what that seems to do, you can see when it's off, it's like one big sprite sheet. When it's on, it uses the tags for his layers to do it in separate lines. I don't know if that's going to be helpful or a hindrance. Again, I'm just trying it out because I've got these tags, idle and talk. So it's kind of doing a sprite area of the sprite sheet for each of them, which is kind of handy, I think. So that's why we've got this gap. So there's the idle and there's the talk. So hoping that's, I'm not going to regret that, but you never know. So what I'm going to do is these first two I know are his idles where he's just blinking. These next two are his like shifty looks left and right. So I'm going to make a sprite out of that. Actually, I might make a sprite just out of that to begin with. Let's drag him on. Let's do the usual, which is I think we scale him up 4 times. Good evening, Chris. Hello, nice to have you back again. So we're going to bring him in. He's going to be having the conversation round about here-ish. Get him set up as a customer, can't spell as usual, NPC, fish tank guy. That's not going to be his name, I'm not quite sure what we're going to end up calling him, but this does need to be an NPC, so let's just set him up. NPC fish tank guy, character's name, let's just call him I'm just going to call him customer for now. So we're using sprites Unity, we'll add those states, we don't need a collider. We have to sort out his massive hit area. Fileo fish, good one. I'll consider that, Kyle. What this guy's like integral to the story, really. He's a weird bloke, and he kind of needs to come across in the story as just a regular customer at this stage, as not to preempt anything. So let me just get him sorted, just so I can use him as an actual character. So I think actually I want to return him to 0, 0 while I set up his prefab. I really want to focus tonight's thing because I haven't got a full 2 hours on the dialogue bit, but I realised I should have set this guy up beforehand. So we've got him set up. That's all of his customer controller things. I do this almost every week now and I still forget. Gonna drag him. Just call him NPC customer, so he's got the same naming convention as the others. Drop him into my prefabs. He's gonna need a couple of other things. I remember visibility and I remember hotspot. I'm just looking at Wendy to remind myself. So let's add remember visibility, visible on start. I'll leave him on for now. We're going to turn him off at some point. And hotspot, I remember hotspot as well. Let's have him on to begin with, and then just apply those bits. The other thing I want to do is set his speech color. I'm going to set him just maybe to orange for now because he's got this orange goldfish in his bowl. I think that's probably all we need to set up for now. Hello, Fritz Hugo. Good to have you back. I think you were on a stream the other day as well. Good to see you. So I'm trying to concentrate on doing dialogue, but I forgot to set up this NPC first, which I should have done off stream, but forgot. So let's pull him over to roughly where he's going to be. Let me just hit play and make sure he actually appears how he should, and he isn't massive or anything like that. Yeah, so he's been rendered correctly. He's got his access point in the right place, so he's scaling correctly. And I think what will happen, not sure exactly where he's going to stand. I'm not going to worry on these little details for now, but the conversation's going to happen with Clive facing him. And it's really so I don't have to animate a lot of talking things of him facing the other direction. So we'll have them kind of stood facing each other like this. So you see the back of Clive's head and the front of his, just so it's easier. He comes out to speak to him from the staff office. So we could probably do with a couple of things just to get us moving. Let's have a hotspot, not a hotspot, a marker 2D. Let's call it fish guy stand point, talk point, and then we can just get Clive to move to that when he has the conversation, and we can get him so he's offset slightly. It'll be fine, I think. Those who joined the stream just recently, I was just saying at the very start, I've made another version of this same shop floor scene and stripped out a lot of the stuff from Act 1 that's just kind of in the way and making it complex, and especially making the scene start, the on start action for the other one is massive, with loads of like checks of variables and things. So I'm just going to start using an Act 2 one for now, so that when we come out here in Act 2 we've effectively got a different scene. I've never done that before when I've made any point and click game. I've never done it with Adventure Creator, but I think I'm learning from my mistakes of just ending up with these scenes that get more and more complex because they're used a lot in the game. The user doesn't know it's a different scene. It looks exactly the same, and it helps me to stage some of the complexity a little bit. So we're going to be hopefully starting a dialogue with this guy. Yeah, it sounds smart, Chris, but as I said earlier on, I might live to regret that. We will see. Because it should make sense. All the global variables will be set for what's being done in the game. The player will have the things in the inventory that they need in the inventory by this point, and it's just going to be a matter of setting one global variable when you move from the office into here that says we're in Act 2 now, so don't load the old Act 1 version of this room, load the Act 2 version. Yeah, and it should be helpful, I think. So I am going to set up just a simple action on clicking him that is going to be to talk to him for now. So let's just, that is his hotspot there, isn't it? No, where's his hotspot? Is it on him? It is. So just there, we want to use interaction for him. It's going to be a talk to. What we want is we want the player. Is that on the screen all right? Yeah. What we're doing, it's not a player. I want the character. Move to point. Is player. Marker to reach is that fish guy talk point. I want to walk there. Path find. Wait until it finishes. Copy the marker angle, and then we're going to go into a cutscene. And the cutscene we want to play, we're going to go action list, run, in scene, and this is where we're going to drop in a cutscene here. Do I have any experience making my own menu entries? Not totally sure what you mean there, Fritz. I think that certainly menus, and this is one of the problems with Adventure Creator, these menus are, if that's what you mean, menus are kind of like UIs. So like a main menu or a pause menu or the inventory or any of those things. I haven't really done much custom stuff of that, if that's what you mean, other than things like a black letterbox that sits over the cutscenes. I think I was on a live stream where I just put one of them together. It's literally 2 black bars that come in when there's a cutscene. If you mean in terms of like these actual action things, like custom ones of these, I've never done that, but I know it is possible if you're a good enough coder and you follow the API instructions that they have. You can effectively make your own action list objects that do certain things. But yeah, that means diving into the actual code of Adventure Creator and like extending some of the classes that Chris has written. But yeah, never done that myself. It's kind of probably not something I want to get into, because I'll end up getting hung up on that, I think. What I tend to do, if something doesn't quite work as I expect it to, or in the way that I think it should, I basically ask really nicely on the Adventure Creator forums to see if Chris will change it or adapt it, and he's very active on them forums, and some things I've suggested over the years have been implemented and are really, really handy. So that's my usual advice. Right, so what I'm doing here is hopefully going to run a action list that I haven't created yet. So we want to create in the scene a new cutscene, and I'm going to call it, cutscene fish guy talk. Actually, this was one of the things that Chris implemented in the last version of Adventure Creator for me. I asked for this on a forum where you could stack all of your action lists just as a tabbed browsing thing at the top there. So that got added recently, which is handy. All right. Yeah, I see what you mean, Fritz. Yeah. I think, yeah, your own menus. I think the way you should think about Adventure Creator, because it took me a while to notice, probably a year to notice, that all of these things that are pre-built by Chris, who makes this, you kind of don't have to use any of that. Certainly, even with the menus, what you'll see in the menu system here, these are, so if I go to the game view, so you can see this, if I click on at the crafting menu, in-game menu, why can't I see that? That's weird. Let me just, I've said this and then it's obviously not gonna work as soon as I, inventory, nope, none of them are appearing. Why is that? What I was about to say, of course, it's proven me to be a liar. Usually when you click any one of these menus in this menu system, it'll show you a preview of it in the game window. I don't know why it's not. I have no idea why it's not, in fact. But each one of these is, oh, there you see, so that narrator text, you can see that one. So that's the text that's used by the narration system. And you can go in here and Chris has set up all kinds of like sliders and things to manipulate this UI. You can see that moving about, like where it sits on the UI, whether it's manually positioned like that was being, whether it's automatically stacked in a grid. So he's provided tools basically for people who are not programmers to manipulate those UI elements. So if you end up making your own custom menus for it later on that you need different words, different languages and things, you could use the Adventure Creator system of menus and UI. So this little drop down where it says source, might be hard to see on the screen, it says Adventure Creator. They can equally, instead of using the systems that Chris has set up for your dialogue UI, you can just go Unity UI prefab and just make a Unity prefab nothing to do with Adventure Creator whatsoever. You don't have to use his UI stuff, and a lot of people choose not to. I think was it a while back, I don't think whose stream I was watching, where they had been using Adventure Creator UIs for all of them just because they felt more comfortable with them. And somebody was saying, oh, the Unity stuff's just much more powerful. And I think it is. Ultimately, Chris has exposed a few controls, but if you select Unity UI prefab, you can just make your own prefabs in Unity using the Unity UI system and just have that particular menu managed by all of that. Similarly, like the subtitles, where people's text appears, by default it's Adventure Creator, but you can create a UI and just swap any one of those out. Is it suddenly started showing them? Don't know why it's not previewing them anymore, but oh, so the inventory here, I'm using a Unity UI prefab here because in the latest version of Adventure Creator, it's the default. I think Chris himself said that it's been easier to continue development and use Unity prefabs sometimes. So this is actually linked canvas prefab. So I think Chris had said he found it easier to just build them as prefabs. So this is just a regular Unity prefab rather than using the built-in Adventure Creator thing that he created. And I think it's because a lot of people just started using prefab stuff. So the short answer to your question, Fritz, I wouldn't worry too much about it. If Adventure Creator doesn't quite do what you need to, then you could just build it as a standard like game object with all of these are just all the standard rect transforms and buttons and all the kind of stuff that you would normally have in a piece of UI for Unity. Right, I'm going to crack on with this cutscene. So I've created a cutscene called Fish Tank Guy. I've got the cutscene ready to go there. Oh, that's full screen. What I just set up a minute ago was I also needed that action. Fish Tank Guy there. I'm going to just go walk to marker. I don't know why I put this in the action actually. I should have just done it this way. So navigation, fish guy talk point. For some reason, I set that up manually. It would have worked absolutely fine, that walking to a marker. But yeah, that's it kind of does that by default. Something's not clicking properly on that. Why is it not letting me delete that one? Let's just delete it there. So the cutscene we're going to play is this fish tank guy and just run from start. I'm not going to wait until finish. I will decide what's going to happen after that. But let's just check the basics of that out. Just make sure I haven't forgotten to do something there. So customer, click on him and he turns and goes to the right place. So it's ready to start that cutscene. Let's just crack on from there. So with dialogue, if they're just talking, then you can use this action type dialogue, play a bit of speech. If it's a player line, you tick it, put in what they want. If it isn't a player line, you just select the NPC. So that, just doing that, and I'm saying, good morning, I'm hoping you can help, or something like that. That should just trigger straight away. So let's just pull that to one side, run it here. So customer, good morning, I'm hoping you can help. Yep, so that's that bit working. I haven't hooked up the animation and things there because they're all pretty easy to do. You can see he's doing talk up because he's not been set to down yet. But that stuff isn't really what I want to do this evening. I want to try and get some of this dialogue done. most of the conversations I would tend to start with a bit of dialogue like this. In this case, it's going to be Clive talking first. So his player first, he will say, hello sir, how can I help you? And then we're kind of into the dialogue. A couple of nights ago I was doing these and recoloring them, and that was just really so I could keep track of who was who. As these dialogue trees get bigger and bigger and bigger, it's really hard to keep track of what's happening. And the other thing I'm going to go into tonight specifically is actual conversations which are different to dialogue. Conversation and dialogue options get a bit confusing in Adventure Creator. So the way I'm going to set it up is the way I did the other one, which it seemed to make like sense to me, I think. Oh, big comment there from Fritz. All right. Right, yeah. I mean, I'm sure it'll be fine. I would genuinely, if you phrase the question well, maybe provide an example, a little mock-up or something, and put it on the Adventure Creator forum. Chris is really, really good at answering it, as are the community on there. So yeah, I think if it's something quite custom like that, then yeah, you might be able to ask someone to help you out with that. Right, this dialogue, so two things here. I find it a bit clunky doing all my dialogue here when I'm like literally writing the script. So I've mentioned this tool a couple of times before. It's free. It's called Figma, but it has a free version called Figjam, where you can make these Fig Jam boards, and I've shown this on the stream before. It's like the whole breakdown of the story, the main acts, the main like story points. I use it for my bug testing as well, so I put like bugs in there and I check them off. It's got all the puzzle flow diagrams in it, items you need to collect, what happens at certain points, and then at this particular point, customer arrives asking for an old sample. He's carrying a fish bowl, taking a fish for a walk. You go in the storeroom to look for it. So this is the point where this pulls off to a piece of dialogue. It's like a conversation, and I use this purely just because I want it, kind of like, I don't want to type it all in a Word document. I don't know why. I find this kind of helpful because then I can colour them and it works beautifully. You can drag things about. You can just drag out I've shown this kind of thing before. You can drag this stuff out, add another box. It's exactly the same colour as the box it came from. Reroute things. Really handy for getting the flow right, as well as just actually coming up with the text. There's like been a lot of dialogue to write. And I wrote some of this on Sunday. I was going to do a live stream on Sunday evening, but by the time I'd written all this, something else came up and I had to like bail out of doing the actual live stream. Yeah, the link, if you just if you search for Figma, it's Figma there. Make your ideas real. Oh, it's a new one, Figma. They've got loads, but Fig Jam is the one that's free, or you get like 3 or 4 free boards. So yeah, have a look at Figma. That is really, really helpful. Yeah, it is. Yeah, Figma.com. That's all you need to go to, really. The other thing for this that is helpful is where you come up with dialogue options. So this is typically what you'll all understand on a point and click game or anything with a story, where you're giving the character the option of the player, sorry, the option of a couple of different things, and then you can kind of plan what's said and then where things come back together. And some of that stuff gets like impossible in a Word document. And as you'll see here, as I start to try and transfer this into Adventure Creator, it becomes really, really messy in Adventure Creator. And I even spent maybe an hour or so looking at loads of options for tools in Unity that are built specifically for this, that are supported by Adventure Creator in terms of importing a load of stuff. And that, proved interesting. There's like a dialogue, it's called Dialogue System for Unity, and there's R2C Draft, and there's a load of other story writing tools that are supported in one way or another by Adventure Creator for importing this type of dialogue tree, but all of them involve me learning another bit of software, writing it all in that, and then exporting it into Adventure Creator. And it doesn't feel like they're like 100% supported. It's really the makers of those third-party tools providing a way to get things into Adventure Creator. So I've decided I'm literally going to copy and paste stuff as I go and set these up. But it's been really helpful in planning out this dialogue. It's ultimately linear because they have to be, with some slightly different options and bits where you want to provide a couple of answers. I think there's a purple one somewhere down here. Oh, there's one here later where that one isn't shown until the other two have been said. So setting up things like that is fine in Adventure Creator. But just laying all this out while I'm trying out ideas, this is much better for trying out those ideas, relinking things, copying and pasting bits of text. And it also means I've got it everywhere in case I screw it up when it comes to Adventure Creator time. So a couple of things we're going to set up. We're going to create some dialogue options and some conversations. And the conversations bit of it, have a read of the tutorials on, or if you've not done this on Adventure Creator. It's a bit confusing. It talks about hippos in the tutorial, but you basically, my recommendation is you create a conversation. You'll see there's some in this scene from a conversation that I did with Justin, where there are a set of dialogue options that the player can choose from. So that's how I recommend setting these up. So you have a conversation. I'm going to call it just shorthand fish 1, because there's going to be quite a few of them represented in that Figma thing. Everywhere where there's one of these big green bars where you're giving 3 options, I'm tending to just give 3 options for the player. Each one of them is basically going to be a conversation where you've got the opportunity to ask these questions and drop through. So I could call these conversation 1 or whatever, but I think I'm just going to call this fish 1. I don't know why. I'm just trying to think of short names. Fish 2. It's a guy with a fish. Fish 3. Just for my, when I come back to this, so I understand why. Fish 4. Yeah, so that'll get us through that conversation. We're going to end up needing 4 of those conversations. So I'm just going to call this conversation fish 1. We're going to create some dialogue options here where it says add new dialogue option. Oh, you can see that all right on the stream. I'll bring up Figma alongside this. I know this isn't going to play nice. What's going to happen is Unity's going to want to jump in front of it. So just move all you guys up there onto that screen. Oh yes, yeah. So I'm just looking at your comments as well. Colour code. You can't. Figma is not made for conversations. It's made for flowcharts, so it doesn't have those nice things that R2C and other story writing things have, where you can assign a colour to a particular person and all that. But it's so easy to change them. It's so quick to use like that it's really not a problem. You can grab a load of them and quickly change their colour and things. So let me put these in. I'm going to be doing some copying and pasting from just off screen here, just because it's easier on my ultra wide to do that. So these dialogue options, they're going to be quite long, and that's kind of part of the style I want for this, but we want the label to be the full dialogue. So I've just pasted that in. And Axminster is a real sign of quality, and so what brings you here today is one of them. How fascinating, I wasn't aware. So these are the things you're going to be able to select from. And I'm just preparing this so you can see what happens, like why you should kind of think of these before you dive in. So the actual conversation starts with, "Hello, sir. How can I help today?" is what I said in my original script. Question mark. So that's delivered by Clive. I'm tempted to recolour these. I automatically colour all my dialogue things this brown colour, and you can do that in the settings. But what I might do is just change. Can I change the colour? I thought I could change the colour. Oh yeah, colour. I might change Clive's to green and just match my other document. And then I might change the fish guys to blue, just so it kind of tallies with my Figma, and then I can see this kind of green blue thing going on. It will just help me a little bit, and then I can just copy and paste these when I need them. So I'll bring in his first line of dialogue, paste it into here. I'm not sure whether the carriage returns are kept. So he starts by going, "Hello, Clive," as if he's about to say Clive, and then goes, "Sir," because he's speaking to you. "I'm hoping you can help me. Some 15 years ago, I purchased a simply fabulous Axminster weave carpet from this store. It had the most hypnotising and intricate pattern, the likes of which we sadly no longer see today." So that is the opening line of the guy who is wearing a pair of flip-flops, a fur jacket, and carrying a fish in a bowl. Make of that what you will. That, I'm hoping it takes the carriage returns, because then they will be treated as separate lines. So we'll run that through and have a look to see how that's performing. But what I'm going to do is drag out the next action, and this is going to be a dialogue start conversation. And the conversation we're going to start is that fish one, where these three options appear. So I'm just going to drag that in. I mean, you can drag them in from there, or if you want, you can just click that button and that'll show you any of the ones that are in the scene. The Justin ones shouldn't be there. They were part of the things I was clearing out of the Act 2. So you go fish one. Now, there's a million ways to do this, to skin a cat. As usual, you can do it lots of different ways, but the way that I have kind of settled on, because it gives me the whole conversation flow in this one action list, is to click this override options. What that does is, for every dialogue option you have put into this one conversation item, as soon as you click that, you'll see it creates you an output for every one of those dialogue options. Oh, it's just below my camera, that. So here I've now got what to do once the user clicks the top option, what to do once they click the second, what to do once they click the third. So that's really helpful. Firstly, because all of these are going to end up being a Clive dialogue, and oops, rather than doing that, what I'm going to do is go and copy that Clive dialogue, because it's green already. It's already set up as a player line, and I'm just going to copy the same lines back in here. So the reason I'm doing that as well is that these here, it's getting cut off here, but that is all going to appear in the dialogue options. They might be too long, I might have to cut them down a bit. But then if you want your character to actually say it, you need a dialogue play speech bit there. So there's going to be one there for that one, one there for that one. And oh, so used to pulling them out there. There's the copied one and one there for that. Missed that. Clicking too quickly. What I could do is set up one of these as a favourite. You could set up a blank green one like that and go favourite. Put it as number 4. Oh, this is another feature that I asked Chris for, which he's done. So you can add labels to the favourites now. So I could just call that live speech. And it should, I think, save the colour and everything as that. So I can just drag that out. So favourite label, Clive speech. And then what I could do is duplicate that. Make it blue. Blue. Have it not as a player line, have it as NPC customer, and then save that as a favourite in slot number 5, and let's call it NPC speech. It should have this object in it as well. If I create a favourite for that, then I should be able to at any point just go paste favourite Clive speech, and it'll bring you one of them all coloured up ready. Paste favourite NPC speech and bring up one of them already. So just quick tips so you're not spending 5 clicks on each box to create them. That should speed things up when you're doing lots of to and fro dialogue. Yeah, I tend to agree, Kyle. Yeah, they are confusing, and I know that there's these dialogue options as well, and they can be slotted into those option things, but I think this is the least confusing way to do it. You can basically do to and fro bits of text and then just trigger a conversation. I maybe wouldn't have called it that, but that's my best understanding of it. And then we head off on these rungs. So yeah, I tend to agree. It certainly doesn't seem as straightforward as it could be, but can't complain. Adventure Creator, after all, is fabulous, and I wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't for this program. So they're the three bits that you need. We're going to try this out now and click each of these, and then we'll set a couple of the options and see how that works, and then we'll do some little skips as well so we don't have to keep listening to the same thing. But I just want to check all of that's working. I think now as well it even does like highlighting of these as they're going through, so I'll leave them on screen and we'll see if that is a fact or I've just made that up. So if I click play, yes, Fritz, it would be good if it could be automated, some of that node based stuff. I mean, that would be nice, Fritz, if you could do an Excel spreadsheet and then have that read in. It's more than possible. I mean, you could do it in Excel. You could export it as a CSV file. I've written CSV parsers for Unity. You can find a tutorial online. They're pretty easy to write. And then just set some options on a class to colour things. I'm sure it could be done. These are the problems. I think it might have been, it was either Kyle or Chris was talking about one of the problems of getting excited, I guess, about some of the tooling is you end up, in some cases, spending days and days doing tooling rather than cracking on with your game. And I've definitely fallen victim to that a few times because it becomes quite exciting trying to solve that challenge in a really neat program way. And yeah, that's happened to me a couple of times, but what I'm trying to do now is just kind of crack on with stuff. But if something truly isn't working, that's when I usually ask Chris if there's any chance of him adding a little feature and things. Oh, it was you, was it? Yeah, Kyle comes from the day job. Yes. It's like, oh yeah, that would be a much smarter way of doing this. Rather than me copying and pasting these 50 things, I'm going to spend 2 days working out something to automate it for me. Yeah, that problem. So hopefully when I speak to him now, he'll go, hello, sir. How can I help today? Hello, sir. I'm hoping you can help me. Yeah, so great. We can see here that the carriage returns have been carried through because we're getting these separate lines. Some 15 years ago, I purchased a simply fabulous Axminster weaved carpet from the store, the most hypnotising and intricate pattern, the likes of which we sadly no longer see today. So this is where we've got our UI issues because my options are really long. I have got it set to, if I just zoom out a bit, I've got it to sit in the bottom part of the screen. So we need to change that UI. Coming back to what Fitz asked earlier, actually, this UI, I'm going to have to change the scale of it so that it fills the whole bottom of the screen to allow my stupidly long questions. I like these stupidly long questions. There's a couple of bits in Monkey Island that are like that, where the options are really, really long and you kind of read them and it's a little bit better than, I think, 1 or 2 words. And then you'll see when I click one of these, he then says it as well. That's why we've kind of got this repeated bit where the whole line is here as the option, but then it actually uses a dialogue line. You can see it's lit up this one now. It's now playing that one, an Axminster. And that's the end of our conversation at the moment. And you'll see that will have ended because the conversation just ran out. So it just stops when that happens. So what I want to do, just to speed things up a bit, we're just going to bypass those first 2 ones so we don't have to keep listening to them. I'm just going to disconnect that. We just need to remember we've bypassed them. I'll fold them up for now up at the top. But again, just to speed up our testing, we'll just jump straight to this dialogue line once we've spoken to him. And what we need to do is change the UI layout of our dialogue. So we're going to go menu, which is what I was clicking on earlier. We can just zoom out a bit so we can see it. I think we have to be in game view. I don't know why I think that, but so conversation. Yeah, so there's the dialogue options. This is a conversation menu. We're using the Adventure Creator built-in UI. We're not using a Unity UI prefab, using the Adventure Creator one. And what I want to do is just have these much longer across the whole screen. So we're going to do alignment is lower center. So we want it in the lower center of the screen. The size, automatic, I think. And we're just going to find a way to stretch that. So, oh no, that's the whole menu sizing. Position, aligned. So if we go down to these elements within the conversation, the dialogue list is this list, and you scroll down, maximum number of slots in the list. I mean, I'm only probably ever going to have 4, but it doesn't particularly matter here. This is just giving you a preview of what it's going to look like. It's going to be text only, just checking all of these as I go. We've got our font in there. We've got the width and the height. So if I change this width, I think that's what I need to change, yeah. So I think this is percentage. So if it's 100, it is 100% the width of the screen. So I'm just going to pull it in a bit so we've got a bit of a border. Let's put it 90, you know, in nice round numbers. So 90, I do want them, I think, left aligned. Easier to read like that, I think. The highlight texture, I'll probably change these later as I start to style my game later on. Some of these will change. I don't think text color highlighted, I'm not sure if that makes a difference. I'm going to set it and just see, make it a gaudy pink. Oh yeah, so that's the one that when it's selected, so you can tell which one you've just selected. I'll just make it yellow for now and see how that responds. Just having a read of some of the chat there. Well, I do tend to agree with you, Fritz. I think in another year or so, yeah, some of the AI coding tools, the specific AI coding tools, will be much better than they are now. It might really be able to help with some of that stuff. Yeah, Chris, that I have thought about that. Do you know what? Sometimes that annoys me in games. Sometimes it's kind of good because you can give a summary in that little dialogue option. And then when you click it, the character says a much more involved line. But there's certainly some games that, things like Mass Effect and other big AAAs, where what's shown as the phrase that you want, especially when it's like a really important decision you've got to make, and you click it, and then the character kind of says something, oh, I didn't quite think he meant that, and it's delivered in a different way. But I do like the idea, as you've kind of said there, where you click on something because you want it to be like out of character or something, but then it delivers the right one. I've got one of them actually. So I'll just drag my Figma back across here. So at some point, as the conversation gets strange with this guy, there's this thing which says, so the option is, has anyone ever told you you're a bit weird? And that kind of isn't the kind of thing that Clive would say as a character. So when the user selects that option, has anyone ever told you you're a bit weird? Clive actually turns to the camera, kind of breaks the fourth wall, and kind of says he's definitely more than a bit weird, but as the old saying goes, the customer's always right, and then it takes you back to choose a different option. So yeah, I've tried to include a little bit of that I think you're getting at there, Chris, where you click something funny and then it'll say something else slightly. Yes, Kyle, Twine. There is some kind of integration for the program Twine into Adventure Creator. I did have a little look at it, but again, I think there's a cost to Twine, I think, once you go beyond the basics, and it would have been another integration thing to change. This game doesn't have a huge lot of dialogue. This is one with probably 5 decent chunks of dialogue. This is a really short game that I'm trying to keep the scope really short, because there's so much art, so much pixel work to do. So I think if I was doing a bigger game, if I was doing something that involved a lot of dialogue, then yeah, I would look to something like Twine or Artis. I think it's called Artisy Draft, or something that really is built for it. And then the dialogue system, I think it's called, for Unity. It's about $50 though, is a plugin for Unity that works a bit like the this like node-based view thing, but it's just far more, I suppose, complex, capable. It's built exactly for that. Yeah, right, I'll crack on here. So this, I hope, made sense, making that like dialogue start conversation bit. These are going to continue off where let me just scroll up to my fish one. There it is. So I'm just going to continue with these bits so we can see where it goes. Let's just paste a favorite. So this is the NPC speech. Grab the text out of my thing, paste it in there. So this is going to go on to that one. It's going to give us a little bit more space here because some of these answers are long on purpose. He's quite a articulate gentleman, the bald guy with the fish. So paste another NPC speech there and hook it up. So this bit is a bit that's going to call for a bit of animation as well. The next bit is another line of dialogue. So I'll kind of read this out to you because you'll see what's happening here. So the customer is saying he bought this expensive carpet from here many years ago, and it was before Clive started working there. So Clive says, "How fascinating. I wasn't aware we stocked such premium carpet." And he says, "Unfortunately, you no longer do. I was saddened to see the store move towards a..." And he pauses and does that little like eyes to the side thing. He says, "Move towards a less discerning clientele because they stock cheap carpets now." So this guy's a bit of a carpet snob. And we're going to trigger that little like looking round the store bit of animation. I mean, it is literally this, where his eyes do this little side to side thing like that, doom, 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 like looking round the store. So I haven't set that up as a separate animation yet. I'm just going to pop this in here for now and just do character animate. The character we're going to animate is the customer, and we're going to play a custom clip. I won't bother naming it yet because it might cause an error, but I'm just putting that in there so it needs done. You can stick a comment in these as well. Toggle comment, needs eyes animation, and then that will remind me that that needs to be done there. So that should run through nicely. This other one is paste another NPC speech in there, get up, first in my line of dialogue. He has this thing where he goes, "You see," every time. And that's my concern, you see. Less discerning clientele, you see. So there's a bit of that going on, a bit of weirdness. What I need to do here is this is all going to kind of come back together to the same piece of dialogue. And this is something I guess you don't really realize as a player of these games, because unless you play them through multiple times, of course, a lot of these conversation choices give you a unique piece of like insight or something into that character. But then they all kind of reconverge on something. That's exactly what's going to be happening here. So they're all independently amusing lines. They don't tell the player something that they're going to miss not knowing, but they ultimately all converge back here on this one. So that'll converge to there, that'll converge to there, and that'll converge to there. So regardless of which one of those options you choose, you end up at this bit where he goes on this bit of a mad rant. My goldfish here, Mr. Chips, had an unfortunate run-in with the neighbour's cat. Needless to say, the cat did not survive that frankly terrifying encounter. This left me with both an awkward conversation with Mrs. Simpson at number 13 and a patch of my beloved carpet stained beyond all recognition. So this guy's coming in looking for some replacement carpet. And this leads into some standard conversation where you don't get to choose. It's like the, if you like, the punchline and things. Your goldfish killed a cat. And then a Leslie Nielsen inspired, like that's not important right now, to just pass off a ridiculous bit of dialogue. NPC speech there. Yes, of course, but that's not why I'm here. The problem is I must find an identical match to my carpet. I'm hoping you might have a remnant, offcut, or even original sample back in your storeroom. So it's once you've got dialogue written somewhere else, it's not hugely time consuming to hook this up. And you can obviously go back here and edit them, rechange these hookups pretty easily. It's not like a big problem. The ninja goldfish, yeah. It gets even stranger later, believe me. I don't know what I was thinking when I wrote this one, but it's hopefully going to be fun. So we're going to break into another conversation here. So I'm going to create another one, just with the conversation button. And this one's going to be fish 2, conversation, fish 2. So this is like a personal preference, but this whole cut scene, if you like, the fish guy talk, I want it all in one action list, so I can come back and edit it all in one place, really. But kind of what I've decided to do, I don't want to group all of these as the first part of the conversation. What I'm trying to do is work left to right, where you get one of these conversation option things here, and then you work left to right, and then ultimately you come down into the next one, which is going to trigger the next bit of conversation over here. So each of the branches, if you like, start at the left-hand side. So here we're going to do a conversation, dialogue, start conversation, and we're going to put fish 2 in there, and we're going to override the options. We haven't got any options yet, so we're going to set them up. So this is our fish 2 conversation, and we need 3 dialogue options. The first one is remnant. The second one is an offcut, and the third one is a sample. So we've got our 3 options. What I might try and do is speed things up. Let's try and grab these 3 options here. Let's see if this works. Copy them, come down here. Don't like the way these things paste. They never paste where I want them. Paste. Oh, not far off. So those 3, I'm going to hook that up, and that up. I'm just trying to save myself clicks. And then it's a remnant, just pasting over this text, an offcut, and a sample. So that moves us on to our next set of conversation options and where we're going to go from there. And then similarly, we've got 3 responses from him, so I'll copy them, paste them down here, just line them up to try and keep it neat. Oops. And hook these up because he responds to you. And his responses, I'm just copying and pasting from that Figma we saw earlier. I'm also keeping an eye on the time. I've got a very early start tomorrow, so I can't stay on for too long tonight. Yeah, it is relatively fast, especially when you start thinking of these quick shortcuts. I mean, to be honest, this whole thing here, you could grab this set of 6, so you get all of them and group them, and then you could add them to a favorite. I think you can save groups of them to favorites, and then you could just bring out all 6 by just pasting a favorite. I think you can do that. Let's see, actually. I might be lying. Selection. Maybe you can't actually. Maybe you can't, because it doesn't give you favorite. Yeah, it's only on the cog on an individual one. Nope. So copy and paste works pretty well. Use the copy and paste buttons. I don't think it works with Control C and Control V because that's bound to Unity. So Control C, yeah, Control C and Control V doesn't work on there, so just be careful of that. All right. So what we've got here, I'm going to paste Clive speech and just paste that in. And all of these converge on that, so you get 3 slightly different ones. So I'm going to leave it there for now with this. I want to come back to this bit to show a couple of things that you can do with this. It might be best demonstrated actually with a different conversation that I set up. But let's just have a little run through that as it is. Let's put this maximized. Let's play it through, try this out. Because the other thing that can happen with these conversation options, here at the moment, we're not letting the player go back and choose something else. So here's your choices. So if you said, how fascinating, I wasn't aware that we stocked such premium carpets. Unfortunately, no longer do. I was saddened to see the store move towards a less discerning clientele, and that's where he's going to do his little look about. You see, my goldfish here, Mr. Chips, goes on to talk about the terrifying encounter. The goldfish killed a cat. And then there's the remnant, an offcut, a sample. So that's the end of that conversation. So there isn't, these are three options where you don't come back round in that cycle, like you might remember from other point and click games. It's perfectly easy to set up those cycles that come round. Rather than me setting one up here that isn't required to demonstrate it, I'm going to open the Act 1 version of the shop floor where this conversation with Justin happens. So Justin's conversation is set up here. There should be a conversation. Oh, they're the conversation, sorry. There should be somewhere on Justin. Justin. So, that isn't it. And where have I put it? So the Justin conversation should be, oh, it's in a cutscene, of course it is. So this cutscene delivery. So there's the first conversation. He says, good, thanks. Justin basically says, how are you, Clive? Because they know each other. He's the regular delivery guy. Good, thanks, Justin, or not too bad. So these are the two options you get. And it doesn't matter which one you say, they converge. And, well, to be honest, Clive, felt better. I think I ate a dodgy kebab at the weekend. So today I'm travelling with a carrier bag and a spare pair of shorts. Wonderful. That goes in and then it triggers another conversation. And these I've flattened a lot of these because it gets complicated when you're sending people back to a conversation. But this becomes the hub of those options. So if you select new marketing material, it goes off and does a little bit. And then what I'm doing here is a solution, I think, to a problem that's existed for a while with adventure creators' dialogue systems. I want to force the player to ask all of the options. So there isn't a default like checkbox you can click to do that in Adventure Creator. So what I'm doing instead is when they've selected one of these options, like the top option there, they go off and there's a bit of conversation. And then I just create a variable and it's a number, basically up to 3. And it gets incremented each time. So in effect, the first time it runs through, it just kicks you back to here. And then it'll remove that as an option. So you've now only got 3 other options. And then if you choose one of them, doesn't matter which one, it'll end up coming through this little sequencer. And then it'll fire you back again to the dialogue. And then eventually you get through and this becomes, like you've gone through 2 different options, it becomes this one. It'll then, before it fires you back, it uses this conversation set to on. And this is because you can set some options that aren't visible at the start, that are set to off. So that only once you've been through the 3 options that were there, does it fire you back a final time, and then it enables this other option. which is, well, I better get back. So it forces the player to go through all of these options and keep cycling back around that same conversation. So really handy using something. Excuse me. First on stream sneeze, that's fun. It gives you a way to control that, a way to make players do it. So Gesundheit, thank you very much, Fritz. I just realised, Fritz, actually, you're on Twitch. So thank you for joining via Twitch. There are a couple of other people on the YouTube channel as well. If you've not joined the YouTube channel, Fritz, then there's a couple of other people chatting on YouTube. So by all means, if you've got access to YouTube, then please do follow me on YouTube. It is, I'll show you the channel. And then the other guys can get involved in your chat as well. So it is, yes, Gesundheit, we do use it in England as well. So yeah, this is the YouTube channel. Fritz, if you do want to join that, Adventure Game Dev at Andy Liddell. It's got all the same kind of graphics and things, all the other content that I create, all of the tutorials and things that are there for Adventure Creator, for Sprite. There's loads on there now. So please do join on that. If you join the live stream that's going on at the moment there, you'll see the chat and you'll see the other people I'm talking to. I've just thought for a moment, you either think that I'm insane and I'm talking to people who don't exist when I say Kyle and Chris, but they are on YouTube, in the chat on YouTube. I have got StreamerBot running. I could then put it up on screen so everyone can see everyone else, but it just adds even more things to an already busy screen. But I would absolutely love a follow and a subscribe on there. That would be great if you want to join us on there next time. So yeah, the options that I just mentioned there. So this conversation, there's two parts to it, just like I'm doing fish 1, fish 2, fish 3. So the second part here, these options, new marketing material, seems like a small box, an email, they're the 3 that are visible at the start. And this one, well, I better get back to work, is not visible. And if I click on that, you'll see there's options here. Auto disable when clicked. So once it's been chosen, so the first time you go through there, if they choose, this is the same with all these actually, new marketing material there, is enabled, as in it's enabled and visible to the player when you first enter the conversation. So these 3 all have the is enabled box checked. This one has it unchecked. And then all of them have got this auto disable when clicked. And that is just a quicker way of adding an action in your action list that turns off one of the dialogue options. So I think it got added years ago, I think, so that you can just basically, a player can only ever click that once. It just disappears off the list once it's been clicked when you come back to it. So in a way, it means you're forced to select one of these 3, and then it sends you around. It gets rid of 1, so you're left with 2. It sends you around, then you're left with 1. And at that point that you click that one, next time you come round, this bottom one gets shown, and then that lets you finish the conversation. So that, for me, is the neatest way of setting up one of these where you force somebody to ask all the questions, because you need to impart a bit of the story to them. And then, yeah, that's just the end of the cutscene, the fade out. Enabling hotspots on the box and things that he has delivered, because he delivers this box of flyers that's there in the scene, because that wasn't visible in the scene before. So yeah, the dialogue stuff is a bit tricky. The way that this works, I think, works for me. I don't use this dialogue option bit, and I think it just feels like, I'm not sure what that adds. I mean, let's have a look now. If I click create a dialogue option, what is a dialogue option? It feels like it's just another, yeah, it is. It's just another action list. I don't understand why you would make one of those dialogue options. And it might be a legacy thing. I think that that little checkbox, the override options, and then you just put them in the in here. That's as powerful as I need it anyway, to be able to then branch off all of those different options and do some of those manipulations of what's shown to the player at that point. Right, so let me just go back to that other scene. Perhaps what I'll try and do, we only got 10 minutes left. I'm going to have to jump off after that. Let's just set up his talk properly. So that in the cutscene, when we start that chat with him, there's a couple of things we want to do. First of all, I want to make sure he's facing down, because we've learnt our lesson here, where we want to face direction, character we want to face, as a customer we want to face down, because by default they're facing up. I think I found a way to change that somewhere, but I can't remember where it was. Is it in NPC? I don't think there's a default direction. No. Yeah, well, I'll just do it the way I've been doing it, which is force the character to be looking down before we start. Make it instant. And then we're going to come into here. And this is just so we can check his talking animation. We're going to create that talking animation. That's what we're about to do. So coming back to my sprite. So my sprites. Nope, that's my scenes. My sprites. Fish tank guy. The talking animations are from here onwards. So it's all of them. So create animation clip. Let's call it, we're going to have to call him Fish Guy from now on, aren't we? Fish Guy. Talk down. I wonder if I've set this up wrong, actually. I'm just looking at, I've got Justin's control of that. I always lose where it puts their animator controller. So I've got animator, NPC, customer. Oh, it just puts it in the root. Every time it confuses me. NPC. Fish Guy. I'm going to call him that for now because I remember where he is. So we've got, I'm going to lock that. So I'm looking at his animator and the talk down. The motion we want to drag into there is the one from Fish Guy Talk D. Pop that in there. What we didn't do is just extend this a bit. First of all, we set the frame rate to 6 frames a second. What I've been doing generally is just copying some of these frames, pasting a few other ones randomly, just so that it doesn't repeat so much. Grabbing a couple of them. just giving it some variety and some randomization. I said this on another stream, it'd be lovely if there was just an option there which is just play random frames, and it did it at 6 frames a second and jumped about. Vision Studio used to have that, which was really handy, but unfortunately Unity doesn't have that. So that is his talk animation. It is hopefully hooked up properly. It should be doing the talk animation when he talks. Let's see if that worked. Let's talk to the customer. There we go. So he's talking as well now. Zoom out a bit. And he's left his mouth with ooh, and that is because we forgot to set his fish guy talk motion to loop time. That should solve that. Yes, I have remembered to make him face down. Yeah, that is one of the things that has gone wrong on every stream so far. And it's like, why is he not talking? And it's because by default they face up, even though the sprite looks like they're facing down. Their default position is up. Yeah, so there we go. He's talking away, his strange eyebrows going and things like that. I might, again, in the polish at the end, I might have it where he's moving his fish tank and it's splashing about and things like that. But yeah, and it'd be nice if we've got some walk animations and other things and he looks about, but I'm not too concerned about that at the moment. Just want to get the bulk of the game down first and then polish later. So yes, he's talking there. That's lovely. Got 5 minutes left really. I'm going to finish at 10. What I'd like to try and do is get that little like shifty eye movement bit done as well. So let's go back into sprites and fish tank guy. It's frame 2 and 3 where he does his little shifty eye movement. I might actually put frame 1 in there as well. So let's create another animation clip. And let's call this fish guy underscore shifty. Let's call it that. Underscore D because he's facing down. Let's have it looped. Let's go into it and actually animate these. Change these frames slightly. So we want it a slower frame rate, so it stays on each of these things just for a little longer, like 4 frames a second or something. Let's pull it so that he does a little look, another little look. So he just goes left, right, left, right. I'll maybe give him another left, right actually. And then back to his other frame. And his head pops up and then he does it again. So we'll see how that works. No problem at all, Fritz. Hopefully, yeah, we'll see you again. Have a nice evening yourself as well, and we'll yeah, hopefully see you again on another stream. Thanks for tuning in. Okay, so this last bit here reminds me of Larry David. You'll absolutely come back. That's brilliant. Thanks, Fritz. Cheers for getting involved. Good night. Have a good one. This, hopefully, I just need to just alter that one bit of animation that I left. That little note needs the eye animation there. So it's going to be something custom. Let's just call it shifty, because then we can remember what it's called. Shifty, all lowercase. So what we need to do in his animator, this fish guy shifty, we want to drop that in and we just want to call it shifty. So it's named exactly the same. hopefully we speak to him. Real sign of quality. And that's my concern, you see. Oh, no, I think I've selected the wrong one. Yes, I've selected the one where he doesn't actually do his little eye thing. Is it the middle one? Completely forgotten which one it was. Yes, it's the middle option. There you go. Click the wrong option there. Let's try that again. Fascinating, wasn't where we stopped. Watch you no longer do. I was saddened to see the store move towards it. Yeah, it needs to be slower than that. And he needs to do it, wait, and then he needs to say less discerning clientele. And yeah, we haven't reset to idle, so he's then still stuck in that animation. So yeah, we need to just fix a couple of bits there. So we want him to play that custom bit. We don't want him to continue on there. We're gonna wait till he finishes. We're gonna return to idle after. And we're gonna have to set Shifty up to be exactly what we want, just like a couple of little looks. And then he goes back into his talking. So let's just get Shifty back again. So he's going to go from that position. He's going to go left, right, left, right, left, right. Pop his head back up and do it. But he wants to be much slower. So it might even be just like not 1 frame a second. Otherwise we'll be waiting 8 seconds for that. So let's just have a look. He hasn't got an idle animation yet, I'm aware of that as well. He's going to need a little blink, and he might be doing his shifty eyes during his idle. And we're saddened to see the store move towards less discerning clientele. Perfect, yeah, that's the kind of feel I was after. And got that in lots of other games as well, where they just stop talking and have a little look. You see my goldfish here. Yeah, so I'm quite happy with that. I've got quite a few things achieved there. Managed to get that character in. This refreshed, blanker, less busy version of the shop floor in for Act 2. Not that I've hooked that up properly yet. Must remember to do that. Got the first bits of this conversation, 2 rungs, if you like, 2 branches of this, but there is another 2 branches to copy and paste in, but there's no point in me do that on a live stream. It's just copying and pasting stuff. But hopefully that has been interesting. It shows you the complexity of just some very simple dialogue, I guess, and it will get more complex as it goes on. But as always, I am massively appreciative of those who are able to come on these live streams. It is really nice having people along for the ride and getting involved in suggestions and things like that. So yeah, I appreciate everyone coming along as always. I will try, I'm not going to be able to do it tonight, but I will get this published onto YouTube tomorrow. I would have thought it won't go public straight away tonight because I haven't got time to make a thumbnail and get all that set up. But yeah, brilliant. Cheers everyone. Thanks very much, and hopefully see you again shortly. Okay, bye-bye.